news for people who can't stand the news. Before I let you go, I do have one constituent I'm sure of who says they live in Hollywood, Florida, so I want to get to them. Her name is Peggy Liddy. She says, I have two concerns with Debbie, and I would like your feedback. Debbie has yet to discuss the Supplemental Security Income Restoration Act, which affects many of us in Broward County. Gosh, it's kind of cut off, but could you explain your position on the Supplemental Security Income?
Yes, I'm so glad to get this question. I got to tell you. Last August, I believe, I wrote an op-ed in the Miami Herald on just this exact issue. So the Supplemental Security Income Program was created in the 1970s during the administration of Richard Nixon. And it's administered by the Social Security Administration. And it enhances, it provides a supplemental income to the poorest senior citizens and disabled people in this country. And it has not been updated as far as the benefit levels since it was created in the 1970s. So who's being helped by the SSI program, the Supplemental Security Income Program? Again, the poorest seniors who are living below the poverty rate. That's less than $11,000 a year in income. Seniors and disabled folks. And here, where I am in South Florida, in Miami-Dade and Broward counties, that's 125,000 senior citizens and disabled people live below that poverty line. They need an increase in the SSI benefits. They haven't gotten it. There are seniors who are having to make terrible choices between paying their rent or paying their medical bills. I've heard stories of seniors who are cutting their prescription drugs in half, taking half the dosage just to make it last. And this should be a no-brainer. I mean, with all the billions upon billions of dollars that Congress spends each year in subsidies, and I just mentioned the sugar industry, they get hundreds of millions of dollars a year in subsidies. That this Congress will not act to help the poorest people living among us is shameful. And last year, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Sherrod Brown and Bernie Sanders got behind legislation in the Senate, the SSI Restoration Act, and a companion bill was introduced in the House, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz still has not sponsored this legislation. She can't be bothered. So, across the board, she's not looking out for the interests of real people. There's a jobs crisis in South Florida, all over this country. The New York Times had a piece just a few weeks ago. This millennial generation, people are more likely to be living at home with their parents in their 30s than starting their own families and living on their own. This is an economy that has been stuck in the mud, and when you don't address those issues, I'll tell you, it leads to this kind of fanaticism on the right, the rise of a Donald Trump, for instance. The Democratic Party has got to return to its progressive roots. It's got to be the party of Roosevelt and Kennedy. It's got to be progress for all. That's our campaign model. It's not progressive if it's not progress for all. It's been too long of this trickle-down approach where we take care of Wall Street, we hope it trickles down to everybody else, but it never really does.
Well, look, Tim, I want to thank you for taking time out. You're a very, very down-to-earth guy. I think I can speak for my audience in saying we love how forthcoming you were with all your answers. And folks, you need to find out more about Tim Canova. You need to also consider the fact that, as he states, man, as he goes, we'll go our democracy. I believe it, man. I believe this is a very pivotal race. If Debbie Wasserman can defeat Tim Canova without even having to debate the man, what does that say about democracy? I got to ask you guys, what does that mean? She doesn't even have to defend her record. She doesn't have to even, I can't believe it. Tim, is there any other thing you would like to say before we close up the show?
Well, you identified it. It says it doesn't speak well of democracy when the incumbent doesn't even have to debate the opponent. But think about it. When she refuses to debate and we defeat her anyway, it's going to say an awful lot about the power of the people to step up, to work together, to change. And, I would urge anyone who's listening, everyone who's listening, go to the website of this campaign. It's timcanova.com. Contribute a little money if you can, but think about phone banking. There's a link for phone banking right at the top of our homepage. There are folks who are phone banking for us all over the country, and it's freeing up our resources on the ground to do door knocking, to be engaging voters face to face. This is a grassroots movement, not just in how we raise money, but in how we're spending it. We're putting a lot of resources into the ground. And, when we win this on August 30th, it's going to be a great victory for democracy. It's going to be the beginning of the real pushback in this country, I hope.
I love it. I love that attitude. He said, when we win it, not if we win it. He said, when we win it.